working with people around my age group who are new in their professions. They're new stockbrokers, they're new insurance salesmen, they're working a hedge, whatever it is. Whatever they're doing, I'm networking with those people. I was like, you know what, that's an amazing idea. And they put an idea on my.
I got my focus on passion and empathy. Gaining perspectives, investing, I do believe. Money and grinding go hand in hand, you will see. I'm working smart, expending my energy. Hope that you feeling me, I'm acting differently. You got a friend in me. I'm working hard to try and work smart. No time to complain, it's time to start. We gotta work. Future millionaires.
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Future Millionaires. Today we have on Ralph Dibugnara. And guys, I'm genuinely excited and curious for this episode, because real estate is something that I can see myself going into in, my coming years. It's something I've always been interested in, but I have very minimal actual knowledge and experience in real estate. So if that sounds like you, make sure you're listening up here, because we have on Ralph today, who has some amazing experience in real estate, especially in financing and mortgages. He is also a member of the Forbes Real Estate Council. He's the VP of Cardinal Financial. He is known as the real estate disruptor. So Ralph, without further ado.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate you having me on. It's a good introduction. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you betcha, Ralph. So if you don't mind, just give us a 60-second snippet of where you're at right now in your life and business.
So I'm partners in a pretty big mortgage finance company. My group does about $1 billion a year. I also own a commercial real estate broker, as well as a commercial news, a real estate news website, and a branding and development company within real estate. I have some ancillary businesses outside of that are not related to real estate, but that's really my bread and butter mortgage real estate finance business.
Yeah, completely. So we'll definitely dive into those as the podcast goes on, but I'd love if you could give our listeners just a little insight into your early upbringing and, kind of how you were raised and when entrepreneurship was introduced into your life.
Sure. So I'm from New York. I grew up in Brooklyn. My father was a teacher. So, we grew up kind of probably lower middle class. I didn't grow up with a lot, but I didn't really know I didn't have a lot. He did a really pretty good job of providing and he was a hard worker. He worked 3 or 4 jobs just to kind of do it. So I grew up around somebody who really worked hard, and he wasn't necessarily my hero when I was younger, but it became somebody that I really copied a lot of what he did as I went on my career, and it's really what's helped me be successful. But college school was not really my thing. I graduated college with a finance degree only really because I felt obligated to, but I really worked my way through college. But I got out of college and I didn't know what I wanted to do. It was right around the time when the internet bubble had just kind of popped with stocks, and it was like the crash before the crash, and there weren't really a lot of jobs. So what I was being offered was a lot of sales jobs that I had no idea how to sell, and I'm actually kind of more of a shy person, but mortgages were really hot at that point. Rates had gotten really low, and mortgages had become a really hot business. So I had a friend that was doing, he's like, "You're interviewing for all the sales jobs, just come sell mortgages." And I was like, "I don't know anything about mortgages." And he's like, "Don't worry about it, you don't have to, just come sell." And he was mostly right. I just had to know how to answer the phone, and I did very well just by working hard. Once I realized I could make money, I was working 6-7 days a week, and I was working 12-hour days because, in sales, especially in real estate, as much time as you put into it is as much as you'll get out of it. If you work really hard, you really get as much as you put into it. So I just started working, and from 2002 until 2007 or 8, it really was a really upward rise for me. I made more money every single year. I became vice president at 24 of a publicly traded company that was eventually acquired by Deutsche Bank. And it was really an easy run for me. I was making a lot of mistakes that I didn't know were mistakes at the time because I had no experience, but I was just kind of running with it. And then 2007, 2008 came and the market crashed, and I had all these properties that I owned, and I was living in a penthouse on Wall Street, and I had 2 cars in the garage. I had a property in South Florida. I was doing all this stuff, and I lost everything really, legitimately within a month probably. I showed up at work one day. We were closing. They were closing the mortgage division, and I'd worked at this one company my whole career. I didn't really know a lot of people to the people that worked there, and all those people just lost their jobs too. So it was really a crazy experience, and I was spending as much as I was making, even though I was making good money. I didn't know. I just started making money. I was like, it's going to last forever. I didn't know anything different. So I was just like, this is easy. So I was spending every single dollar, and I was just living the wrong ways. And I got a really hard life lesson. And the market crashed, and I ended up with a lot of debt and in a business that was not good at that time. So it was it was a good life experience, the whole first process of it. That was the beginning though.
Yeah, completely. So now the market crashed. You've clearly had a lot more experience and time after that, that's like over a decade ago now. So if you could go back and really do stuff different, realistically, not just say, oh, I'd sell all my property, but like, what would you change really to actually survive that and to be able to sustain it and even take advantage of it?
Sure. So I think the first thing that I've learned now, you need to diversify yourself as a person. And I'm not talking about investments. I'm talking about kind of diversifying yourself as a person. So I think there's a few steps in doing that. And what I've learned now over the last 10 or 11 years in rebuilding all this is that your network is really the most important thing about your business. So I didn't have a network at all. So having a big network is really, really good because you'll always be able to make money around your network. As long as you do a good job at whatever you're doing and you have a good network of people, you have good people around, you always be able to make money. So having a network, which I didn't have, would be the first thing. The second thing in diversifying myself as a person, I would say, would be having multiple streams of income. And it doesn't, and you're going to hear that from a million different people. And it doesn't necessarily, you don't need to make, $100,000 a month from each stream of income. You just need stuff that's profitable for you every single month. It could be $500 or $1,000, but as long as you're pulling profit from a few different places, you're diversified. So if one business goes down, you still have other streams of income coming in. So, right now, it's really a big focus for me over the last 5 years to create really steady multiple streams of income. So I'm securing myself.
Mm-hmm.
I think the third part, which I learned the hard way, was not to carry a high debt load. When the market crashed, if I would have just lost everything, it would have been fine if I didn't have debt. The problem is that I lost everything and then I had debt. So it took me 2 or 3 years just to dig out of the debt problem I had, and then I was starting from scratch. If I could just start from scratch at that moment, I would have been fine. It would have taken me some time to get back on my feet, but not a crazy amount of time. So, what I suggest to everybody is live as below. I'm not telling you to not enjoy yourself a little bit, but live below your means as much as you possibly can. I think better. I make better decisions when I have money in the bank. When I'm liquid with money to invest, opportunities come to me. If I don't have money when opportunities come, I can't invest in them. So I like to be as liquid as I possibly can to be able to invest. And I always want my money to be working for me. So, I don't want to say that keep your money in the bank because I don't think that's a good idea either. I think that, but put in stuff that's consistent and steady and that, you can make money with over time, and I think you'll be okay. And if I could say anything around those times, I think those are the 3 lessons I learned the most.
Yeah, completely. So I'd like to touch on just a few questions I had within those. So
Sure.
One of them I had, when you're talking about, limiting your debt, I completely understand your expenses and whatnot, like clearly the fancy car, house, whatever it may be, the penthouse. But when you're talking about actual real estate and the business of that, and for this, like putting money down on a house. Mm-hmm. So like, how would you have kind of changed that? Like, is there a certain percentage that you usually like to put down now that was higher then, or how's that?
I don't think what you put down is important. I think your payment's always the most important thing when it comes to financing, mortgage in general. Like, how comfortable are you with the payment? So interest rate is important, and how much put down is kind of important. But the truth of the matter is that what are you comfortable with payment wise? If you're trying to grow in real estate early, here's the thing, during the worst market ever, rent didn't go down. Prices went down on homes, rent didn't go down. People still needed to rent, they still needed to rent. So, I like I like buying properties as rentals that are self-sufficient, where I'm making a certain percentage on my money on those rental properties. Now with that, you should always look at what cap rate is, and most people don't know what cap rate is, but just to kind of like make it as basic as possible. Cap rate is basically the rate of return on your money on a rental property.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to be above 10%. I'm earning on my money in that property every single year. But most importantly with rental properties, just to keep it kind of basic, is that make sure you're profiting enough money every single month that if there's repairs needed or whatever, that you're still not underwater. And as long as that house is self-sufficient, no matter what happens to the market, you're always going to be able to keep it. And if you can stay through the bad times with real estate, and I bought in Florida. I still have properties in Florida that were worth 40, 50 cents on the dollar after the crash, and I still own a lot of them. And I don't suggest that, but they were self-sufficient, and they're still self-sufficient to this day, and the values came back. So I was able to wade my way through it, and it was okay. So I think as far as real estate goes, if you're going to buy in real estate, I know everybody's not from the same place. Up here, there's a lot of multifamily homes. I would suggest that if you can get into a multifamily home and live there and rent it, you can almost live for free. That's always a good strategy. But I like buying rental properties, and I like, buying a rental property that you're getting the right return on your money. And I suggest at least 8 to 10%, and just make sure that property is self-sufficient. And I think you can sustain it through anything.
Yeah, no, that is definitely great advice. And so just curious now, because what I've seen some people do with rentals also recently, I'm wondering if you've had this idea or got into this, but
Sure.
also turning some of those rentals that are traditionally, like leases into short-term rentals with Airbnb and designing it that way. So do you have any experience or anything with that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have a couple properties that I Airbnb. I love Airbnb. If you're in a state or a city that allows it, because a lot of places are outlawing it at this point, I think it's a great business model. I think it's one of the best business models if you can do short-term rentals. It's a little bit more management for you, but once you get a rhythm down with it, like where you have a system as far as the keys go and the cleaning and all that kind of stuff, I think it's a great revenue driver. You will see large return on your money on that monthly with Airbnb. I really think it's a great strategy. If you can do it, I suggest it.
Yeah, totally. So can you give some advice then to somebody who, is looking to get into the Airbnb game? Because from my understanding, you can comment on this too. I've, heard that Airbnb is definitely easier because, you don't have to necessarily own the property. You can also make deals with other people who, have properties or whatever. So just the starting step, for someone who's looking to get into the game.
I think you're gonna look for areas that they don't have to necessarily be tourist areas, but they have to be areas where there's a large volume of people. And that can really include corporate areas. In corporate areas, people always need corporate housing, and Airbnb really works well for that. Or places that are highly visited around amusement parks or whatever. People will check Airbnb before they check hotels. Now, it may not even be a better deal, but they check that first. So I think that the placement of the property is your most important thing. You're not going to buy a property in a rural area and be able to Airbnb it unless it's something special like a lake or something like that. So, I think you have to look for a place where average rental costs are going up, so it's a growing city or growing town, wherever that may be, and then look for something that's high volume. And you can look for something that's high volume just by looking at hotel rates on a weekly basis. Like if you go in and look at New York City in August, the hotel rates are less than they are in other months because not as many people are visiting. So look at places that have consistent hotel rates and look for when their high times are. You can really, and I suggest almost tracking it for like 6 months. Like, okay, in September, like it's around here, it's busy. Great, I know I can Airbnb around that. So the information is out there to Airbnb, but that's what I suggest. If you're collecting facts, look at the hotel industry to collect facts, or look at busy areas. There are areas that you would think that would never be busy in the whole entire world, but they're big corporate areas, or they're big college towns where there's going to be visitors certain times of the year. That's what I would suggest looking around. Like anything that you think that there's busy seasons, you can make a lot of money in those seasons.
Yeah, no, that was great right there, guys. I mean, I'm already learning a ton, so I hope you guys are taking notes as well. But so now jumping back a little to something you explained throughout the crash too, you talked about, your multiple streams of income. So would you recommend, trying to launch a few of those at once, or would you recommend launching one and then building that up strong and then leveraging that to help create others?
So I think when it comes to business, and I've made a lot of mistakes in business myself, and I think the biggest mistakes that I've made is when I went into businesses outside of my business or outside of my area of expertise. Now, I've had successful businesses and outside of my area of expertise. Like I own a barbershop, and that does well. But I went in business with the right person to do that barbershop. He had a lot of experience in the business. But I've done other businesses that didn't work, like gyms and stuff like that, because it wasn't the right person doing it, or I didn't have enough experience to know what the potholes were. So I think if you're going to start multiple streams of income, you probably want to do one at a time. You can do multiple streams at a time, but it should be a business that you understand, and you understand the problems that are going to occur. Because if it's a business you don't understand, the problems are going to come up. You can think any business is great. And I've done this before. I'm like, I want to own a pizza place because it's cash and it's a good business. Go talk to a pizza guy. He'll be like, run, don't come into this business. So like, know a business better than because you had experience in it, or you just understand it better. If you're going to start multiple businesses, I would do it around businesses that you understand, because it'll leave less room for error.
Yeah, completely. That's definitely great information right there. So now on your initial one too, you touched on, building your network and relationships. Sure. I'd love for you just to dive a little more into, now that you know that's so valuable, how you've been able to do that and how you continue to do it.
Sure. So, I think that your generation and the generation like right before you understands it better than anybody. Like when you guys do really, really well, is network. because you grew up around networking. Like it's always been part of your life. And I think networking through social has been amazing for me in general, to be honest with you. And I think I use it for more of that. And I think social media is a great place to network for the right things. I think you could really find, you can find a lot of value there. But just in general with networking, I try to find people where I feel like I can bring them value and they can bring me value for whatever it is. It could be completely totally different. It could be somebody that I think you have to invest time in people, not knowing what the result is sometimes. Like I may meet you and like we had a conversation. It was a great conversation. And I'm just like, I don't know what I'm going to do with Gavin, but I'm just going to invest time in talking to him and meeting and talking about business, and we'll figure out something to do with each other. That's really worked for me at a high level. Just investing time in the right people, people with good energy, people who are forward thinking, people who are workers, people who are trying to get to a different place. I think if you invest time in those type of people, you'll find ways to do business together in a really easy fashion, more than you would even think.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that mindset going into that. So now you said that you were a VP of a publicly traded company. So I'd like to hear about that journey, because that definitely sparked my interest. I'm sure our listeners are thinking the same thing. Yeah.
So when I got into the business, I was 21 or 22, and I was a salesperson, and I did really good my first year and a half, just selling, because it was just work. Like if I work, it was raining mortgages at that point. Now it was really easy to get a mortgage. So for better or worse, it was really easy to sell a lot of mortgages. And so I went from that to be a manager, and then I went to that to be a VP running a division. And what I learned from that early, and that was based off, there was guys who were running the company I would consider younger at that time. They were in their late 30s, and they were really successful at a young age. And they liked me as a young, aggressive person. They put me into a leadership position. But getting into a leadership position that young is not necessarily easy either. Like, I didn't know any better. I thought now I'm a VP, put me in front of the room. I'll tell everybody what to do, and they're going to do what I tell them. Yeah. But I got in front of the room, and I was the youngest guy in the room. And I was like, well, we're going to do this, this, and this. And people look at me like I'm crazy. And I realized that, like, you have to earn people's respect. Mm-hmm. So just getting a title at a young age doesn't necessarily help you. You have to still do the work to earn people's respect. So it was a good learning experience for that way, because it taught me what to do and what not to do in front of people, and that you still have to prove yourself through experience. And I think that the bad part of social media is that it's created a lot of almost false prophets, people selling systems or this or that they're experts on, but they don't necessarily have a successful, profitable experience in that business. And I think a lot has to be said. I think that to be a leader and to get far in life, I think you have to have substance. And I think substance is going to come with failing, asking a lot of questions, and always being open to learn. And to this day, what really helps me now, and I'm on your podcast, and I watch a lot of your YouTube videos getting up to this actually. But I think that listening to other people tell their stories, and I like podcasts in general for that. I love listening to podcasts now, is really powerful for me, because they're normal people who have done extraordinary things, and they failed a lot along the way. And I think getting from 21 to 24, being a VP of a publicly traded company, and where I went from beyond there was so many mistakes, countless mistakes. Mm-hmm. But I've always learned from my mistakes and moved on to the next step. So I think it's not how fast you get there necessarily; it's getting there the right way and figuring out how to get to where you want to be the right way. It's, getting somewhere fast. I have friends that were, had reached success really early on, and then they failed after that, and they were never able to come back from that because they weren't used to failing. So I think that. You always have to be growing, in general. Like, and as long as you're always growing, you'll always find success.
No, that was great. So when you were in this meeting, you're young, you don't necessarily feel disrespect, but almost like a distrust, right? So how did you come to gain that trust? And I assume come with time, but just how did you present yourself and accomplish things in a way where other people could see it and therefore be like, okay, this guy knows what's up?
Yeah, so I think that it's a few ways you do it, but I think, one of that is you have to be likable. I think to be likable, you have to be humble, and you have to be willing to admit what you do and you don't know. Mm-hmm. But then I kind of just looked at the situation. I'm like, all right, well, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses. So I'm going to show everybody what my strengths are. I'm going to show them why I got put in the position. But through my work. I'm gonna be on the grind every single day. I'm gonna show them to work. And on my weaknesses, I'm gonna start working on them every single day. I'm gonna ask these people around me who are workers, and they weren't pushed to the position that I was with, but they still have knowledge about the position. So I think when I first started, I think within my first 6 months, I realized I'm gonna sit with everybody individually and almost interview them about their job and figure out what their pain points are, where they feel like they're being held back in the position and what they feel like their strengths are. So I think I sat with every single person, and I went through one by one, no matter whatever the job was, and just figured out, like I was like, I want to know how to do your job. So can I sit with you for a day and figure out how to do your job? And like, let's just go through a full day of your job. And I just want to sit with you and see what you do. And they would tell me what their strengths and weaknesses are, and I would observe them for a day. And then I would come up with my own conclusion with their strengths and weaknesses on, and I would compare the two. And then I would at least be able to come up with a plan for that person. It's like, all right, I heard what you said. This is what I see that you're doing, and this is what I think you're doing. I think that one-on-one interaction, it enabled me to gain their respect one by one over time. And that was the best way to do it. Because, a lot of it was, oh, you look like a baby, or you don't know what you're doing. And, that, like, I don't believe in that, to be totally honest with you. And you'll face a lot of that coming up. Like, I don't believe in that. I think that it's not how young you are, what your experience is. It's who you are as a person. And I think people are either born leader. Most people who are leaders are born leaders, and they can lead at any age. So it's just a matter of accessing that part of your brain and your strategy and pushing forward with it.
I literally love that so much. Like just that thought too, to like, in my opinion, that's such a good way to approach it when you have a group, instead of trying to gain the group's trust and still having everyone looking back and forth at each other like this guy, you went straight to the individuals and gained their trust. So when you come together as a group, it's a cohesive unit, which is something you need in business if you want to succeed.
Yep. It's got to be a team atmosphere. It's got to be a positive team atmosphere. Listen, and along those lines too, and this was a learning experience too, it's finding out where the negative is coming from and cutting it out. As the years have gone on, I've really adjusted to that better. But the one thing I could give as advice with that is that no matter how much money you're making off of that negative, somebody could be your best producer that you work with, but they're negative every single day.
Yeah.
Energy that you're expending to deal with the negativeness will never be worth what you're making off of that too. So I think that no matter what it costs you, you have to cut the negative out immediately. Never let that sit, never let it fester, because if you ignore a problem, it'll eventually become a bigger problem. It never becomes a smaller problem. It doesn't go away. It doesn't change. It'll become a bigger problem. So I think in that too, and even coming up, if I could look back, if I could have recognized a couple of things more, is there were some people that were going to be negative no matter what I did. There was no changing it. It wasn't a personal thing, and you can't take it personally. You just got to cut it out. Figure out how to cut it out. So, that's important too in that factor.
Yeah, I love that. And too, guys, for those of you still listening in high school too, just relating a little bit to that audience, a lot of times it's hard to cut that negativity out because you're forced to be in the same class with the same people. But once you get into, quote unquote, the real world, and you get out there, you see a lot of times you won't always have those decisions. But when you do, guys, you have to really take advantage of that, like Ralph is saying, because surrounding yourself with the right people, guys, is so important, especially if you're in a bad place in your life. Really look at the people you're hanging out with, and if they're happy, if they're positive, if they're encouraging you. So I really appreciate you bringing that up, Ralph, because I feel like a lot of people can definitely benefit from that. So now shifting gears just a little bit here, we threw out a pretty big number earlier. That number was 1 billion with a B. and for those of you who don't know how big $1 billion is, like, it's insane. Just look up the actual difference, because it's a lot higher than $1 million. So how did you systematize and were able to grow to 1 billion and effectively manage that much?
Yeah, I mean, so that comes with a lot of help, and having the right people around you. So I think the first thing is having the right people that are helping you grow. And for me, what really works for me is people who are consistent every single day and reliable. Consistency and reliability. They don't have to be the smartest person in the room. They don't have to be the most dynamic. They don't have to be the best salesman. If they're consistent and reliable, I can predict what they're going to do every single day. If I can predict what they're going to do every single day, I can assign them tasks and leave it to them, and I don't have to think about it anymore.
True.
So that was really, really important in building it. And I think I treat everybody that works in my group, everybody that I work with, as a partner. It's a business partnership, from the receptionist to the top producing salesperson to my managers, whoever, because I have to bring something to you, and you have to bring something to me. If we're not both providing value to each other, then there's no reason for us to work together. So I think with that, it's, providing value for everybody you work with and treating it as it's a partnership. We have to be a partnership in your job, whatever that is. So I think treating it as a partnership, and, for my purposes, I've never had a salary ever in business. Because I was always a commission person, and now I run a business, so I'm tied to the profit, right? So for me, that works because if I have a ceiling, it's like it's like a death sentence for me. I never want a ceiling. Some people want the reliability of it. For me, I always need there's growth. So some people want the reliability of money, but I think you always have to show them there's always going to be a bigger opportunity for them. So if you work hard, you can get here. And, you know, I have a person that was my assistant first at 21 years old, and now she runs my whole entire business and makes big money because she was consistent, reliable, and she was able to move to the pipeline. So there was always more of an opportunity for her. And I tell everyone the same thing. There's even plenty of opportunity around me. It's whether you have to seize the opportunity, though. And to do that, you're going to have to be somewhat of a self-starter. So just knowing your personality and attaching people to what you do well, I think is how you grow a business to a high number.
Yeah, that is awesome. So on that same subject, kind of the subject of entrepreneurs, people who are in a company and they come to you with like an idea of, I don't know, a better way to market or a new way of doing X, Y, Z. How do you feel about that? Is that something you like really love? Because I know a lot of different people in leadership positions respond really differently to requests like that.
No, I mean, I love that. I think that's one of the keys to my business is almost empowering. So I'd love to sit with people on a strategy session and just have them tell me what they're doing every single day and what they like and what they don't like, whatever it is. And then putting some ideas in their head of what I would think, if I was them, what I would do, and then empowering them to go make their own. And I want by the end of the meeting to say, all right, we talked about your problems. We talked about your positives, your negatives. We talked about what I think about it and what I would do. What would you do now? And I love that. I think empowering people to come up with ideas is how I come up with so many more ideas. And I'll give you one. I always tell people, own who you are. So through social, whatever your marketing, whatever your business is, own who you are. So if it's your age group, then own your age group. If it's your neighborhood, if your ethnical background, own that. Own whatever it is. If you're a woman, own that. Own it. Own it. So I had one of my younger loan officers, he's a realtor and a loan officer, come to me and he's like, you know, you told me to own it. So I'm trying to own my age group. So I'm networking with people around my age group who are new in their professions. They're new stockbrokers. They're new insurance salesmen. They're new, they work at a hedge, whatever it is. Whatever they're doing, I'm networking with those people. I was like, you know what, that's an amazing idea. And they put an idea in my head. So I'm starting something that I'm launching soon. It's called Generation Disruptor. And it's a young networking group where we're going to do weekly coaching calls on it. And it's just going to be a national, through social media, networking group for younger professionals to network amongst each other. And the reason I want to do it is I want to get in front of as many of you guys as I can because it gives me good ideas. And I think we'll find ways to do business together. Just like I said, invest time in the right people and you'll find ways to do business. So, you know, that was a good idea. If somebody came to me, he gave me an idea, I went back at him, and now he's helping me spearhead that group. Yeah. So, you know, I think you have to be open to new ideas. And I use a lot of sports analogies, but I think if you look at Bill Belichick, he's one of the greatest NFL coaches of all time. I'm a Giant fan, but he's one of the greatest NFL coaches of all time.
Gotta respect it.
Yeah, but he respected. So, but he empowers his coaches to come to him with strategies, with offenses, with plays, like, and all these guys, you see what happens with all of these, a lot of these guys go on and they're not necessarily successful on their own, but they were successful amongst the group. But I think it's because of the atmosphere he creates. He creates a very creative atmosphere, and then he manages the ideas. You know, he's like, all right, I see what you're saying here, but let's implement this here. You know what I mean? I think that works, and that really works in business. I think you have to empower people to be creative, and you have to help them corral it and focus it the right way.
No, I love that. So you're, you know, building this amazing work culture, work environment. How do you set up your own environment for success? And what I mean by that is an example would be, you know, putting your phone on do not disturb, or just like your surroundings. So
I'm crazy ADD. I'm all over the place. I can't sit still. So I really run my life on routines because it enables me to be my most powerful and strong every single day if I do a routine. So my routine is I'm an early guy. I'm an early riser. I'm up like 4:30 or a little earlier every single day. I get up, I clear out my email box, I meditate a little bit, and I go to the gym, and I have like an hour and a half fitness routine that I've done forever. I've always been into it. I'm at the office by like 7:15, 7:30. I start my day. Most people aren't getting into the office till 9:30. So by the time everybody's ready, I'm like, I did everything I had to do for the morning. I set up my calendar for the day. I've studied my calendar for the day, so I'm prepared for my meetings, and I go from there. But why that works, and I do the same thing every single my morning up until about 9 a.m. every single day is exactly the same, and then my calendar starts for the day. And I think scheduling yourself is really, really important also. But while that works, because whether I'm having a good day, a bad day, whether there's something going on at home or I had death in the family, whatever's happening, it doesn't really matter. I know the next day I have to get up and do the same 4 or 5 tasks. So it's not stressful. there's no variables. Like I get up and I have to do the same 4 or 5 tasks. And I know by the end of those tasks that I'm going to be as centered as I can be. I'm going to be as calm as I can be. I'm going to be as focused as I can be, because I spent all that time by myself for 5 hours, for almost 5 hours, 4.5, 5 hours, getting myself focused and ready for the day. And that's what really works for me. And it's just, my routines really keep me strong and straight every single day.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something that, even with me too, that helps. I like to schedule out my days, so that way I have a kind of like a plan of attack, and that plan of attack changes, sometimes depending on how the day goes, but it's just to have things in your day that you want to attack, because if you aim at nothing, you hit nothing, that's
great. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yes, I mean, scheduling stuff out and there's no reason not to schedule anymore. Like, I have a Calendly app. There's, it connects with Google Calendar, send you my link, schedule some time with me. Like, and it enables me to keep my day straight. And then I always know what's going on. If it's not on my calendar, I don't know what it is at this point, because it gets busy. But I just think at time, and I think along those times, I think you have to time block for yourself. I saw an interview with Warren Buffett not too long ago, and it was him and Bill Gates in the same room together. So 2 of the richest people in the world. And Bill Gates said, I met with Warren at this point, and I had this full calendar every single day, and I was working on this and working on that, and I had charity events and all this stuff, and I was getting pulled in a million different directions. And Warren Buffett still keeps like a scheduling book. Like, he doesn't, like, it's not automated. Like, he still writes everything out. But Bill Gates said, I looked at his book. He had me look at his book, and he had nothing in it, nothing scheduled. And it was like, how do you do that? And he said, because I need to spend 5 or 6 hours, whatever he said, with myself every single day, reading and be by myself. Because spending time by myself is a lot more profitable than spending time with other people a lot of the time, because I get more done, because that's how I think. So I think that really resonated with me, that he was he figured out where his time was best spent, and he was using it. He didn't care, unapologetically using it the way he needed to use it. So I think your time is the most valuable thing you have. And you'll learn that the older you get, the more it gets valuable. But I think time is really valuable, and you have to. At this point in my life, I just turned 40, and I want to maximize every minute of the day. However that is, I'm going to maximize every minute of the day. And and it can be annoying to other people sometimes. Like, I go home on the weekend, and my wife and kids just want to relax. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, where are we going? Like, what are you going to do? So I'm sure that they sometimes just like, dude, just sit down, to leave us alone. But I think that I want to maximize every minute of the day. So I think, and some of that means spending time with myself. So, I think that that's important too. Just, you have to find out how when you think your time is best spent, and maximize it.
Yeah, no, that is huge. And I even want to reiterate something here, because I thought it was so valuable. And this is something where, if I'm being completely honest, I'm not doing a good enough job in my own life of it. And that is taking time, and not just kind of running like a rat on a wheel, where you have everything scheduled out and you're like, I'm doing X, Y, Z, but you also have time to think. Because guys, look at the most successful people in the world, just like Ralph brought up. Like, they all put time aside to think, and they have these great successes because they thought ideas and then executed them that other people didn't, so that's just something that's huge. And I'm definitely going to try to implement that more, especially after this interview. So thank you for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thank you. So now, I'd love it if you could just give, some clear-cut action steps for someone, around my age. I'm 18, or someone just coming out of high school that wants to get into the real estate game.
So it's funny, because I've been talking about this a lot lately, and I kind of have a conflicted opinion about college at this point in general. And I'm not against it. I'm not necessarily for it. I'm not against it. I just think that and it sucks to tell somebody that's 18 years old this, but I think you have to have a plan to monetize it, because it's too expensive now not to have a plan. Like, it's become to a point where it's gotten ridiculously expensive, where you have to have some kind of plan what you can do. But along those lines, I think real estate is the perfect profession for somebody to work in through college. It's something you can do part-time. It's something that, it's not expensive to get your license. In most states, it's an average of about $500 to get your license. So you can get licensed. I promise you that real estate agencies are always looking for new, young people to come in, because it's an easier business to train in than most. And I think that it's a great business to get in. So if I would tell anybody anything, if you're looking to be a real estate investor or buyer, whatever it is, go get your real estate license, go get a part-time job, at least shadowing somebody who's doing real estate, where you can get somebody to mentor you through the process a little bit to see what goes on, to get business experience. If I could go back in time, I would have definitely done that through college. I wouldn't have been working at a sneaker store. I would have been working in real estate. You know what I mean? I would have got a part-time job because you can even just doing rentals, like you said, Airbnb, even just being a rental agent, you don't have to sell $1 million homes. Being a rental agent, you can make a couple of $1,000s per transaction in most states. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a college student, you're making $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month. Like it's good income. So I think that, if you can do it, I would suggest trying to do it. I think it's a great way to do it. Besides that, like, just look at what the markets are. Like, again, own where you are. Like, the first thing I would do is let me understand my market as much as I possibly can. Let me see what homes are selling for around here. 2-bedroom houses go for this, 3-bedroom houses go for that, because then you can study trends from the outside looking in and figure out what you think there's opportunity to buy. You know, and again, you're always going to hear history stuff come up and people say, well, the curve is inverted now and there's going to be a recession and all this stuff. And I'm not saying don't pay attention to that stuff, but if you monitor trends, you can lessen your error big time within 10%. So, I think those are really a few good steps to get in. And then a third thing that I really, really like, and if you decide not to work unless you're going to work something else, a lot of these real estate crowd funds at this point are good investments because they diversify. And you can get into for like $500. Like you can start investing in real estate for like $500. And I have money invested in a few crowd funds, and I think it's over the last couple of years I've averaged a little bit over 10% of my money. If you can make 10% on your money in anything, you're doing good. Because it compounds over time. You know what I mean? So so if you're looking to be an investor at a young age and you want to watch something, go look up some of these crowd funds for real estate. And there's one that I like. It's called Fundrise. And I think the initial investment there is about $500. And they show you what projects you're invested in. They show you when you get paid dividends based off of rental income or sales of properties. They show you when that happens. So you can really be a pretty savvy real estate investor just from look what these funds are doing to do this. So I like crowd funds too, especially for younger people to start investing in real estate.
No, yeah, that's definitely great stuff. And I'm even considering getting my real estate license too, because it is, like I said, something I'm really looking into, just kind of at a point where I feel like a lot of younger people are at this too, where there's a lot of shiny objects, and you gotta choose. You can't get all the rabbits. So you gotta choose.
Absolutely.
And just wondering too, so I've heard, anywhere say usually the number is 1 to 3 when you're talking about different opportunities that you can go into. Like some people say, like, you got to pick 3 things you want in your life and kind of like go after those 3. Some people are like, you literally got to just have like one. Like, I guess, what's your opinion on that?
I don't think you can limit yourself. I think if you get engulfed in a business, like I'm engulfed in my business now, and there's a lot of opportunities that pop up around that, and I don't limit myself on those opportunities, but I think you have to have focus factors, and I think you have good people around you to take advantage of it. Again, I think it goes back to the same thing. I think it doesn't matter how many opportunities. Whatever opportunities you think you're taking, make sure it's something you understand. Because the most money will be lost and the most time will be lost making mistakes in a business you don't know. Yeah. So, I think that it's got to be a business or you got to be around somebody that knows the business for real. They're a real mentor. They really know the business and they're willing to show you the ropes. So I wouldn't limit that number. But I would focus on mastering one thing and then seeing what opportunities are around that one thing. So that's why I say become a real estate agent, because you'll see a lot of different things in real estate, and then you can figure out what opportunities around real estate that you want to get into. I mean, the reason I like it is it's a good starting point. Yeah. And then you can figure out the opportunities that are around it. And I'm sure that's the same in a lot of businesses. But I think, learn as much as you can about one thing and then create opportunities around it. It would be my advice.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. So one thing that I'm huge on is getting outside your comfort zone, really pushing that. And it's just so important to me. So I'd love if you could share some examples in your life where you've really done that, and then also kind of your view on that. And if you try to do it every day, every week, every month, like just
every day. I think it's the most important thing you can do for yourself. Whenever I have an idea, and whenever that idea in my head starts to become something that I feel like is a burden, because I'm like, this is too hard, or this is taking up too much time and all that stuff, at that moment I know I'm onto something, and whether I want to do it or not, I have to do it. Because it's making me uncomfortable. I'm having those doubts in my brain because it's making me uncomfortable. I'm not having those doubts in my head because I don't agree with myself that made the idea yesterday. I'm having those doubts in my head because it's making me uncomfortable. So it's getting hard. So then you have to fight or flee. You're going to push through, or you're going to run from the idea. And I think no idea is a bad idea, because if it fails, then you just learn something. If it succeeds, most people are going to fail 90% of the time. Like, you're going to succeed, but you don't remember that. You only remember the good thing about this country is that we only remember the success stories. We don't remember the failures. You know what I mean? So, like, as long as you succeed after that. So I think everything I do is to get out of my comfort zone. Talking to you right now, being on social media, talking in front of the camera, which I feel like I have to do because it makes people comfortable in front of my voice. Like, being on social media to get people comfortable with me is uncomfortable for me. I'm not that person, but I'm as transparent as I can be, and I know that making me uncomfortable makes a good thing. Speaking in front of crowds is uncomfortable, but I've learned how to do it better, and I've gotten better at it. It's made me a better person. Sports, athletics, training hard every single day, it's uncomfortable. But you have to do it because it makes you I train so hard. I boxed for a lot. I played sports through high school and college. I boxed through my 20s, which was something that I always wanted to box, but I was kind of afraid to. And then I just went into it, and I ended up fighting for a long time. I got out of my comfort zone. Then I ran Spartan races competitively for, 4 out of the last 6 years. I was top 50 in the country 3 years running, and I'd never done it before, but it was uncomfortable, and the races were uncomfortable. I'd get in the middle of the races. I'm like, this sucks. How do I get off this mountain? Or how do I quit? How do I get off the course? I wasn't having fun, it was because I was so competitive and stressed to do well that I was making it uncomfortable, but that was a good thing. So I think everything you do every single day, you should find something to be uncomfortable about, because it just means being uncomfortable means that you're improving. And if we're not improving every single day, then we're doing ourselves a disservice.
Yeah. And guys, I really want you to think about the position that Ralph is in right now. I mean, look at everything he's done up to this point in his life, and look at what he's just saying. You'll see a consistent trend with high performing people making themselves uncomfortable and pushing themselves, because almost everything you want in life, your goals that you haven't achieved yet, are outside your comfort zone, guys. So if you can find a way to get outside that, even if it's not directly in line with a goal you're shooting at, it really is, because it's going to give you that courage, that confidence that you can handle failure situations like that. So love those examples. I'm definitely going to have to I'm thinking about doing triathlon, something like that, get into.
Yeah. So the best way I can put it is I'm almost stressed every single day to make myself better. I want to get to the next level so bad every single day. And I think that's more mental than it's physical or anything else. It's just breaking through that mentality. I want to be better so bad every single day. And I've just gotten to that mentality. I just want to get better. If I ran yesterday, I want to be a second faster. If I lifted weight, if I did something at work, I want to be more efficient at it today. I think if you just take that tactic and you try to just be better every single day, and listen, I'm not saying you have to stress yourself out. I have to find something to be uncomfortable and better every single day. We're around things every single day that make us uncomfortable or whatever. I think it's just pushing through that stuff is the most freeing thing you could ever do for yourself. Because once you push through it, it'll never. And I equate this to, I go back to, I call it a marathon theory. Once you can run a marathon, which is 26 miles, running is never hard for you again. Because if I have to run a 5-mile race a year from now, and I get to the race and I'm tired that day and I'm not feeling good, or I didn't eat the right way the day before, all I have to say in my brain is, you did 26 miles. This is only 5 miles. This is going to be easy compared to that. I already broke through so you can do that mentally every single day. You just have to break through what your comfort zone is, and then you can just refer back to the harder thing you did. It's it's never going to be as hard as that was. You know what I mean? So I can do this. You have to almost mentally psych yourself up. You can do it.
Yeah, no, I love that. A lot of times too, I'll just literally tell myself in my head, or sometimes I'll say it out loud, if I'm not in a huge group of people, I'll be like, if I can get through this, I can get through anything. Because
exactly.
That's so true. Because if you can get through that moment and you consistently don't lie to yourself and you remain truthful to yourself when you say that, oh my gosh, it's been so huge for me, especially throughout this last year.
Mental confidence, and it took me a long time to get mental confidence. I think I didn't really truly have it until I was in my 30s. But mental confidence is the best thing you can do for yourself. And the true way to get mental confidence is to keep doing things that make you uncomfortable and that you don't want to do. Because you'll get through them, and you'll feel like Superman. You're wow, I was I'm not a creative person. So I started doing creative things, and I actually am a creative person, but I was restricting myself from being a creative person because I kept telling myself you can't do it. So I think if you just do something that makes yourself uncomfortable all day, and you'll get mental confidence, and mental confidence can take you wherever you want to go.
Yeah, awesome. And what you just touched on there too, with kind of like a preconceived notion of what you can and cannot do, I kind of want to touch a little bit on kind of like manifestations, and if you have any of those in your life that, have brought into fruition, or anything where you've just manifested something currently right now, or just you and your view on that.
I think in general, like, I do my job every single day, and you get little successes, and I try not to dwell on any of that stuff. And I think I'm good at stuff. What I keep telling myself every single day is you can be great. You don't have to be good. You can be great. And to be great, you have to keep growing every single day. So I think what I manifest every single day is just growth in general. And I don't necessarily, I'm not a goals guy. I'm not going to put something on a board and say, I want to do X, Y, Z by next year. It's more of, how can I do more? Like, how can I bring in more opportunity? How can I be better at what I did yesterday? Okay, I saw that, I did this good, and a lot of it's self-analyzation. I think my best skill is being very self-aware. Okay, I did this well, I did this wrong, I did this well, I suck at this. I'll watch this interview back, and why did I say that? What was I thinking? I didn't answer that correctly. And, and not a bad way. I'm not picking myself apart, but like, I'm very, very self-aware. And I think that's a good way. All right, I did this, I can improve on that. I think I manifest realistic things like, I just want to improve on this, but let me start trying to improve on this, and I put that out in the world, and I keep telling myself every single day I can do it, and I think that stuff comes to fruition.
Yeah, no, that is amazing. I love all that. So now, we're getting closer to the end of the interview. I'd love to wrap it up with a few questions here. So what is some advice that you hear often that you think is bad, but it's generally just kind of like, toss through?
Yeah. And I think this works for you. So I know everybody follows Gary Vee these days, and I think Gary Vee says a lot. I think Gary Vee says a lot of good things. He really do. I really think that and I'm impressed with him. He's a good business person, but he keeps saying something that I keep saying to young people that I think is really, really wrong. And I want to point out that I think this is wrong. He keeps telling young people, you have so much time to become great. You're so young. I didn't become great until I was 35. You have so much time. Like, don't worry about it. And I don't, maybe that's not the exact message, but it's something based around that. Mm-hmm. And I completely disagree. I think that I'm not telling you to stress yourself, but I look at you and how old you are, and I'm just like, dude, by the time you're my age, you can be whatever you want to be. Like, you can be president of the United States, but you don't have to think like that. You don't have to think like, well, I'll get started later. Get started today. Like, you could be great at 5 different things in the next 20 years. You don't know what your end goal is going to be. You may be great at something for 4 or 5 years and be like, all right, I'm interested in something else, and I want to switch gears and go this way. Like, be great today. Think you're powerful enough to do whatever you want this day and age. You can network with everybody you want. You can educate yourself on YouTube on anything you want to do today. You could build a spaceship on YouTube right now. You know what I mean? So like, yes. Everything's at your fingertips. Don't waste time. Start trying to just become who you want to be today. You don't have to wait. Don't feel delayed. Don't feel like you're too young and you can't do it. Like, you could do it today. There's nothing special about me today except all the stuff I've done over the last 20 years. But if you strip me of everything today and I had to start over from zero, I would be able to do it because I know, like, all right, I'm not going to waste any time. Like, what do I have to do today to start going? You know what I mean? So I just think that don't waste any time. Be who you have to be. And don't let anybody tell you that you're too young to do something or you're not experienced enough to do something or whatever. Just try it, fail, and be better at it the next time you come back at it.
Yeah, completely. I mean, really, like, not letting anyone tell you anything that you can and can't do, I feel like is just huge. Because even when I sat down and talked with Josh York, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
I've heard the name before.
Yeah. So he runs a company called Gym Guys, and literally a billionaire when he still wasn't financially like successful, right? Like,
and I see them all over the place, Gym Guys.
Yeah, exactly. And a billionaire told him the idea wouldn't work. So imagine if that were you or me, even at that younger age. Like, I'm not gonna lie, if there were a billionaire, like even if I told you an idea and you were like, oh man, it's not gonna work. Like, yeah, that would hurt. But having that mental toughness, all the things we talked about during this podcast, like, guys, and not saying you have so much time to wait, but you have so much time to execute and fail and learn.
100%. And listen, don't take things personally when people don't, I think the best thing I can tell you is when people don't like your ideas and don't think you do stuff, don't take it personally, because it's not something that's wrong with you. It's something that's wrong with them. It's their block, not your block. And I'll give you an example this week. Somebody asked me to interview with a local publication in New Jersey this week about this generation disruptor that I just talked about idea I had. And like 5 minutes into the interview, like, I think the guy was just interviewing me to get quotes. And like, what I realized after 5 minutes is that he wanted me to pitch him the idea. So I was like, and he was an older guy. And I was like, all right, I'll whatever. I'll go along with this charade and I'll pitch you the idea. So like after like 10 minutes, he's like, I don't get what you're saying. And I was like, okay. So it kept going. And then he was like, I just don't get this. This sounds like an infomercial to me. Like, so I was like, so I said it in a very polite way. I was like, well, now you're kind of being insulting. So I understand you don't get the idea, but I'm going to end the conversation because I don't think it's a match. And like, this wasn't what I thought it was going to be. In a very nice way, I was like, have a good day. Maybe we hope we'll connect with him in the future. And I got the phone and I was annoyed because he was being disrespectful, but I wasn't annoyed because he didn't like my idea. I was talking to the wrong person.
True.
I was talking to a person who didn't have his mind open to what I was doing. And it doesn't mean my idea is wrong. It just means that I have to develop it more and I have to put it in front of the right people, not the wrong people who are going to be closed-minded about it. So, don't ever let anybody tell you can't do anything, and don't let anybody telling you your idea is bad mean it's bad. It may not be bad. And if you take that criticism and don't do something powerful with it, then it's on you,
Yeah, completely. That is definitely huge. So, just a few more questions here.
Sure.
So did you have any mentors or like anyone who kind of showed you the rope when you were really getting introduced into business, and then even as you advanced?
Yeah, so I think that, I've had people in the business that I definitely took little things from. I don't think I had anybody mentor me exactly in the business. I think, I think my father, my brother, and my family members were very hard workers. And I think that was very good for my work life and seeing that. I think what I have more now and what I've had for the last 10 years is inspirations. I think I have people around me who inspire me more than mentorship. So people around me who are doing different things that aren't necessarily me. And I'll give you an example. One of my best friends is a guy by the name of Sycamore, who I've known since he's about 19. He's about 32 now. But he was one of the youngest A&Rs ever at Atlantic Records when I first met him. He was a DJ when I first met him. He's a really, really good creative. But now at this point, he's the creative director for Interscope Records. He's the senior vice president. He was the A&R on Travis Scott's last 3 projects, YG's last 3 projects. I forget who else. He's got Sheck West now. He's got like 5 or 6 artists. Yeah. But he's become like a really, really big deal in that business. Like he's become the guy you go to if you want to make like a concept album. And he's an inspiration. We do something completely different. We talk about business all the time. He's just an inspiration to me because he's very creative and we get creative ideas from each other. So I think it's just, and he's not mentoring me, but he gives me, he puts stuff in my brain that help me. So I think being around people who inspire you, I think mentorships are great. Don't get me wrong. I think having a mentor is a great thing. I really do. If you can find the right person. But I think also just surrounding yourself, people, even your peers, people who inspire you, could do a lot for your life. And I think I have a lot of people around me who inspire me.
No, that's great. I actually can relate very closely to the whole artist thing because one of my friends even, he's like a SoundCloud rapper right now and he's really hustling, starting out. And it's just very inspiring for me to see, a lot of people like, man, his music is trash. He has a lot of people who love him too. But it's just very cool for me to see someone at that young of an age take a lot of, hate and whatever it is. But because he has a mission, he has a passion. Like he doesn't need to be pushed because his passion pulls him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Listen, you can't teach passion, and passionate people will always be successful. He'll be successful. Whatever it is, he'll be successful at some point.
Yeah, no, yeah, I love that. And I'll even send him this and he'll love hearing that. But so the last question here. So this one is you can answer it on a business level or even a more personal level.
Sure.
It's with all the success you've had, like there's always ways that we can improve as people, and as entrepreneurs. So what is the biggest change in your life that you would like to, make or, start working on right now?
So I think for me, because I'm so busy all the time and I have 2 little kids, I have so much going around me, 100 employees, all this stuff. I think that I have to work on being more present in the moment when I'm in the moment. I think that when I'm in front of people, don't worry about my phone. Don't worry about what's going on here. Like be very present in the moment and get as much out of that time when I'm with that person as I possibly can. I think that where I fail a lot of times is I'm not present enough in the moment, and I don't think I get it what out of the conversation what I should be getting out of it because I'm not present enough. So I think I have to be more conscious about when I'm speaking to people. And this is a great forum because me and you one-on-one with face-to-face, I can't be on the phone, I can't do anything. So I was very present in this conversation and I got a lot out of it. So I think that I have to be more present in front of people. And I think that'll help me a lot. Don't be distracted. Don't look at the phone. Don't, be present. Even if it's 5 minutes, just be present. And I think there's a lot of value in that.
Oh, I agree so much. I really hope the people who are listening to kind of listen to that because I love, like meeting up with my friends or whatever it is when I get the chance. We live busy lives in a good way. Don't get me wrong. I ain't complaining, but it's always nice when you're with someone and you're communicating with them, not kind of like dabbling with your phone and whatnot. Like, so
Correct.
yeah, I really do like that. And I like that shows a lot of great self-awareness on your part too, as you touched on earlier in the episode.
Yeah.
But now, where can our guests follow up with you at? Because I've gotten tons of energy from this conversation.
Good.
And I'm sure, we got a lot of excited people who would love to look further into what you're all about.
Sure. So my Instagram is really best. It's Dibug, Dibug. My website, where there's a ton of interesting real estate stuff for beginners, is homequalified.com. And there's a bunch of starter videos on there, like how to get invested in real estate, how to work in real estate, first time buyer, stuff like that. So Instagram is Debug, website's homequalified.com. You can find me on LinkedIn if you're on there. I'm Ralph Dibugnara. But those are the best places to get me.
Thank you so much, Ralph.
Take care. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you betcha. And that is a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning into today's show and taking one step closer to becoming that future millionaire. All I'm asking from you guys is that you please take the short amount of time to review this episode. And once you do that, take a screenshot, send it to me on my Instagram, which is Gavin Lero with a period in the middle. And I will be sure to repost that in my Instagram story, give you guys a shout out. Or if you post something about the podcast in your Instagram story, I will be sure to repost that, and there's a little something extra to that I think you guys will like that will be attached to my response to you in the DMs. So look forward to that. All you have to do if you're on iTunes podcast app is you just have to pull up the current episode you're listening to. You hit the purple Future Millionaires underneath the title of that episode. You scroll all the way down to the bottom past all the other episodes. Then you hit write a review, which is underneath, the 5 stars, the visual 5 stars, and you give it a title, a quick description, however amount of stars you think it's worth. Of course, I preferably would love 5. And then you hit send, and all you have to do after that is just know that I am very thankful. Guys, I really believe that this is a very powerful education tool for your growth, and I want you to succeed. So please also reach out to me on Instagram, which is Gavin.Lera, and I will be sure to answer any questions that you may have, or, any ideas you want to bounce off me. I love to hear them. I love entrepreneurship, helping other people. So let's all succeed together, and you have an amazing day.